Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I'll be doing a deep dive into Stellar Blade's story. While the story itself isn't groundbreaking in the video game landscape, especially compared to the storytelling of a game like Nier, it's still worth visiting and exploring. So, hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get started. If we're going to take the time to understand Stellar Blade, we need to first understand what it is at its core. How would you describe the game? The game's background? The world of Stellar Blade is dark and gloomy. The buildings are broken, the people are broken, and the world is broken. The final war basically left the planet in ruins, and in those ruins, there's very little left. As Eve explores the world, we really get this notion that the world may be beyond saving. Well, at least at first glance. The maps litter up the bodies of the fallen airborne squad members and Legion soldiers. Outside of Zion, there's essentially nowhere to live safely. Hordes of Natiba patrol every inch of every map. There's almost no animals wandering the outside world. Even safe havens like Zion, designed to keep the few survivors safe, are still vulnerable to attacks. The people are essentially trapped and have nowhere to go. So what's the point? Why bother trying to survive when on paper, there's nothing left on the planet? Most of Eve's side missions end the same way. The discovery of a dead body, the loss of a loved one. So, why even bother trying to save anyone if their deaths are almost guaranteed? The main cast has their moments of lighthearted laughs, sure, but beyond that, there isn't really much to laugh about. But that's the thing, despite how depressing this world is, Eve and you, the player by default, witnesses moments of warmth. However brief these moments may be, they still exist in this game, and that's what makes Eve's goals worth fighting for. When we visit the last gulp, we can hear the voice of Enya as she softly harmonizes Beyond Fates. Of course, at that moment, we don't actually know the name of the song, nor does she. Just off first impression, we are immediately captivated by the vocalist. Her voice is smooth but still manages to leave an impact on the listener. I know I immediately took a seat and listened to her before deciding to get back to actually playing the game. Eve attempts to greet her but is stopped by Sue, one of Zion's sentinels. Sue gets upset with Eve and tries to ensure Enya is okay. Eve attempts to de-escalate the situation so that she can get a better grasp about what's going on. He does eventually calm down and explain Enya's condition. She's missing limbs and is unable to speak. Her body frame is quickly deteriorating, and it's only a matter of time until it gives out. You can feel the pain in his voice. He's a guard for Zion, but is powerless to help the person he loves. Fortunately, Eve is willing to help. While Lily is unable to fully restore Enya's body, she is at least able to restore some of Enya's body frame and her ability to speak. Enya and Sue share a tender moment holding each other's hand. Later on, Eve visits a distraught Enya, unable to sing. She shares her concern for a distant Sue, who has stopped visiting her. On top of that, rumors spread of Sue seeing another woman. Eve's investigation takes her deep into the wastelands, where she discovers a wounded and exhausted Sue, hiding. Beside him is a pair of legs. The Sentinel had ventured deep into the Natiba-infested territory in search of legs for Enya so that she could walk again. His expedition went south after being overwhelmed by the hordes of mindless enemies. In this moment of relief for Eve, Adam, and the player, he shares with Eve his inner insecurities. He feels he failed Enya by having to rely on others for help the entire time. He feels useless. Once Eve gets him back to Zion, the couple finally reunites. Before Sue can even explain himself, Enya slaps him out of anger for almost dying, just for her sake. Enya appreciates Sue for the selfless venture, but at the same time, can't help but be angry that he almost died just for that reason. The two share a warm embrace as Enya has Sue promise never to attempt something so foolish and dangerous again. Despite how everything always seems to go wrong for Eve on missions like these, for once, things seem to work out. The two found their way back to each other. So, what makes this side story so special? On paper, it seems like a typical love story, but its inclusion for the story is far more important. As mentioned previously, most of the side quests Eve endures end up in unfortunate tragedy. deaths and abandonment of loved ones seem to be a common trend in most of Eve's reports. So it feels strange seeing a story where love actually endures. The couple both survive. Despite how awful things seem to be, Enya and Sue still manage to find each other. When we first meet the two, Sue is overly protective of Enya. Eve does nothing to imply she is here to harm her, but Sue immediately gets upset with her. Eve revealing that she's an airborne squad member does little to ease Sue's frustration with her. However, he's quick to change his views and cooperate with Eve, if it means helping Enya. It shows a level of stubbornness that Sue has, but also a stubbornness he's quick to abandon for the sake of someone he cares about. Enya's first verbal interaction happens after Lily finishes her initial repairs. She's calm and immediately reassures the stressed Sue that she's okay. She then immediately thanks Eve for her help. You really get the feeling that Enya is a woman who's honest with those around her. She's able to read the room, and when she's grateful, she makes sure the recipient knows it. You really get to see this honesty in the investigation for Sue. Without Eve having to drag it out of her, she admits she's worried that Sue would abandon her for another woman. She's jealous and scared, to the point to where she can't even sing. I found myself emphasizing with both characters heavily. Sue struggles with his fear of uselessness throughout the side story. It's a feeling I'm sure a lot of us experience in life. I know I have. When the opportunity comes to help improve the life of the person he loves, he takes it, despite how deadly the mission is. From the outside, most people would think he was a fool to engage in such a reckless task by himself. And he really was. But the better way to view the situation is a man willing to do whatever it takes to help the person he loves. And also a man trying to prove to himself that he's capable of helping the person that he loves. I remember breathing a sigh of relief once we discovered Sue in the wastelands. Yet, he doesn't seem too pleased to see us. Despite how far he had come on his own, he is unable to complete his mission without getting further help from Eve. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having Eve's assistance, but to Sue, all it does is further validate his degrading opinion of himself. It is only once he returns home to Enya that Sue realizes how ridiculous he has been. Sure, Enya would love to walk again, but she would never choose that over Sue's life. What good is the ability of walking if Sue isn't alive to stand next to her? Enya is a character that understands she is limited in what she can do, what she's capable of. She's not a soldier like Eve or even Sue. She's a musician. So when her fear of losing Sue engulfs her, she is quick to ask Eve for help the first chance she can get. Enya understands she is powerless to do anything in this situation. Both Enya and Sue experience this feeling of being unable to be there for the other throughout the story. And I think that's what makes the relationship so interesting and so beautiful in a way. Because it just shows how pure their feelings really are for each other, and how alike they are. But this feeling of being powerless is also where they differ. While Enya is quick to acknowledge and seek help, Sue is stubborn to admit it and chooses to risk his life at the end of the day. Their eventual reunion serves as a major stepping stone in putting them two at the same level. Later on, it is Enya and Sue together that approach Eve for help. Quite the stark contrast from the previous two missions where each individually must approach Eve to help the other. Ultimately, the side story has no major effect on the events of the main story, and doesn't really alter the three possible endings. So we go back to the main question. What's the point of all of this? Why bother trying to preserve their love when it has no effect on the greater scale of things? No effect on the major story at hand? The answer is because it's these moments of pure warmth that make the task that Eve is undergoing worth fighting. This isn't just about ridding the world of Naytiba and saving the planets. Sure, that's the main goal. But there's a deeper goal than that. Eve's mission, while helping the people of Zion, has become saving those that were abandoned and ensuring that everyone has a future. I love side stories like these. It helps remind the protagonist and the player the purpose of even engaging in the mission. I think it's far too common to become lost in the task at hand that we often forget why we're even doing this in the first place. Why are we even bothering to risk our lives? Because it's for the people like Enya and Sue, and the relationship that they have that reminds us what really matters at the end of the day. And I think these kinds of relationships and these types of people help Eve realize what she's fighting for. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and maybe even learned something from it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.